They are banned by the state. So why did the News 4 team find some bounce house companies still renting to families? We're working for you to keep your kids safe. Tonight, consumer investigator Lindsey Bramson found out who's following the law and who's not.
Images like these showing a bounce house tumbling across the grass are why the state requires bounce house operators be licensed.
If a company is not properly permitted, that would mean that the device may not be safe and operable.
But look at this. These are companies that don't have the state's permit, and the state deemed these companies not in compliance. But several of them still have websites and advertise their services on social media outlets like Facebook. So we checked them out, beginning with 615 Concessions, who hasn't been licensed with the state for at least 2 years.
I came across your information online.
And when a News 4 producer called to find out if they are still renting equipment,
I was wondering if you still rent out bounce houses?
The owner's response, yes, ma'am, we do. We have lots of them. Despite this letter from the state sent 2 years ago prohibiting her from operating, the owner still sent our producer an email with pictures and prices. Then there's Boing Boing Inflatables, who got a letter in August of last year telling them they didn't have a proper permit either.
I was wondering if you guys still rent out the bouncy houses and inflatables.
The owner's response, we do. And we found several other companies without permits still advertising bounce houses online. But when we called to ask if they are still in business, they never returned our calls. The only person to agree to talk to me by phone was Anthony Hall, the owner of Boing Boing Inflatables.
I was hoping to ask you a few questions about why you're still operating illegally.
It was basically a miscommunication with me and my inspector.
Would you agree that it puts families at risk and the kids who use these bouncy houses to not be legally in compliance?
In my case, no, because I'm running my business, tip-top.
We told the state what we found, and a spokesperson says they plan to look into it. In the last year, the state has received nearly 40 complaints involving inflatables. Everything from uninsured and unlicensed businesses to a water slide allegedly not anchored down properly. The state says they sent all the companies warning letters and in one case turned a company into local authorities, which is all they say they can really do. But the owner of a registered business says they could be doing more before someone gets seriously hurt.
They really need to step up and pay attention to this and enforce the rules and regulations.
I think the state's doing quite a bit to protect families by putting this information out on the website.
If you're thinking about renting a bounce house and want to know who's in compliance and who's not, we also have that information for you on our website right now. Just go to WSMV.com or download the News 4 app. For the News 4 team, I'm Lindsey Bramson.